You are being programmed.
So like the old saying, I can't see the wood for the trees. For some reason I highlight and fixate on the mooring areas, but to me I was looking at it and said, wow, it looks like an ancient monorail or a train track or a medieval roller coaster, because that's just what it looks like. I couldn't see any ships, and I'm thinking, what's the point of having it like that so far from the houses with no more, I know it's for mooring. Then I see a bit on the painting, it says train oil cottages. I'm like, no way. Then it twigs on me. Train oil, it was a term used for whale oil. So it could be for whaling. And when you just look at it, it just doesn't look like where you moor a ship, does it? Or a boat, because you can see boats right next to the cottages or the whaling facilities. Then I was talking to my friend Jay, and he was talking about how he's seen some train tracks just going into the sea. So I was thinking, could this be this? Because obviously they used to use like train tracks as putting the boats on and sliding them into the lakes or the sea. Easy access type of thing. Some are old pipes and sewage, etc, etc. So that just got me, my mind blown, because I'm looking at this picture. I'm like, no way. It does look like train tracks, and obviously train tracks weren't invented till a lot later. So I thought, oh no, I'm onto something here. And then when I saw the train oil, I was like, I'm definitely on for something. But as you can see from these older pictures, you can see ships tied to it. But it still doesn't make sense for me, because it surrounds the city. Where are you going to walk on it? It just doesn't make common sense, does it? But hey, that's what it is. It's for mooring ships. Then I see this image on the painting, because obviously I'm clicking through Google, and I was like, wow. So Vadersolstavlan is Swedish for the Sundog painting, and it was done in 1535, they say, and then copied and redone in 1636 or something like that. And it's beautiful. It's probably one of the earliest renditions of a phenomenon called sundogs. That's what they say. I mean, just look at it. Isn't it beautiful? So I'm going to be talking about this and a few other things in this short video. But just, have you ever saw sundogs? As crazy as that. And this was supposed to be in 1536, 1535. Just crazy, isn't it? There's just something about the paint, I can't put my finger on it, and I'm going to try in this video. They say it happened on this day in 1535. The appearance of sundogs over Stockholm, Sweden inspired the painting Vadersolstavlan, the oldest coloured depiction of the city. Now, we know about sundogs, we know about the reflection of the firmament. I've done videos on it if you want to check it out. The Crystal Matrix, it's one of my better videos, people say. But something just doesn't add up. These are sundogs or sun halos and various other names they have for them. This is not what's been depicted in the city. I've never saw anything as depicted in the painting. Now, there's other, names that are found for it. One says Vadersolstavlan means winter solstice. How can it be that when it's in April? And another one, the weather solar panel. Now, it's crazy. I can even see in the painting a solar eclipse. So I'm just going to have a little dig and see what I can find. This is, as you can see, this is the only one I can find with a solar eclipse with a sundog. So in this video, this short video, there's going to be some wows, hopefully. Right guys, as you can see from this what I've got in front, it's a list of the solar eclipses in the 16th century. Now I'll put the image up again. As you can see, I believe that is a solar eclipse containing also solar phenomena and sundogs, or whatever you want to call them. So I had it in my head, as you know, if that's a solar eclipse, could I corroborate with any facts found? Now, the one translation of Vadersolstavlan meant winter solstice. Well, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that, pardon the pun, that the painting was supposedly done on the 20th of April 1535. Now it's been lost, it's disappeared, and then 101 years later I'm not saying the 11. Oh, it did. So 101 years later, a copy was redone. Where did he get access? Did they physically see it? Who knows? I just want to know how these people knew and to draw it the same way as the original, which is intriguing. So as you can see, the image above showing you a solar eclipse, in my opinion, and they're saying it's April, but the solstice is in December. Who's lying? And then you find that translation showing you it means winter solstice. So you go, aha, you might be onto something, Paul. So let's have a look at the dates. Remember, 20th of April, 1535 is the date. So let's scan down. This is just date, time of the eclipses, the type of them, and you know how long it lasted, and obviously the location. I couldn't find one near Sweden. You know, I'm just going to put it there. I'm not going to lie. So let's move down. But obviously people see eclipses not where obviously more places than they actually state. So that could be a factor. Or they could just be lying about the date. And this is why I want to point this out, because I believe so. And this is a significant painting, remember. So let's look. 1535, the first solar eclipse in that year, according to this, is 3rd of January. And it lasted 2 minutes, 22 seconds. And I'll show you, even though you can't really see it on the screen, you can see its location nowhere near Sweden. But I'm not saying they couldn't see it. So that one was in January. You then had one in July, which was an annular, which I think means ring. That lasted even longer. It was 6 minutes, 19 seconds. Location for this is in Africa. So you can see, again, not in that location, but, you know, showing you solar eclipse happening that year. But strangely enough, there was a solar eclipse near the winter solstice, but on the 24th of December, 1535, at 2 o'clock. It lasted 3 minutes and 55 seconds, but the location of this was in the ocean, so a significant time away. Again, not saying that people can't see it from wherever in this realm. But there we go, guys. They're lying about the date. But why? You know what I mean? I just found it fascinating that the picture showing you this Sundog, and the translation of winter solstice could be wrong, but it seems funny that I've connected something wrong with a solar eclipse at roughly near the winter solstice. It's like I'm onto something. But I'll be fair, and again I'll show you for the following date, which was 1636. Remember, it was 101 years later, and in that year there was a solar eclipse, a short one in February the 6th. It was an annular, a ring. It lasted for 29 seconds, so a short one. The location for this one, again, the opposite side. So, and obviously all maps lie, and we don't know how this realm is, you know, laid out, but it's still interesting. Again, the next one, 1st of August, 1636. This one is a total eclipse. It lasted 2 minutes, 15 seconds, and again, in the same location as the last one. So, there is two dates, 1535, 1636. The original painting was made, catching a moment in April the 20th. They wanted to highlight that month for a reason, like April's Fool month. And 1636 when the copy was made. There was two solo eclipses in 1636, 3 in 1535, and 1 near the date that I predicted from one translation, meaning winter solstice. So they lied about the time, and it corroborates that it wasn't in April, but in fact it could have been December. Right, guys? Also, if you look at the painting, does it not look like a sprinkling of snow on the trees? Could be artistic expression, but you know, there should be more snow. But hey, I don't know what the weather was like in that time. But to me, it looks like sprinkling snow on the trees to go along with what I'm saying. They moved it from December to April, but for what reason? So I found this on the web, this picture. I don't know where whoever's got it from. It says the painting is a 1636 copy, which we know, and it was by the lost original, thought to be by Urban the painter, which coincidentally is turned into 11 in gematria, the gateway number, the ritual number, Janos' number. And the interpretation of the sky events and the 6 suns was a subject of much controversy between the king and the church. It's crazy that, isn't it? That Urban the painter equates to 11 in gematria, and even Vadersolstavlan in Swedish equates to 11, the gateway, the ritual number. When they do one of the false flags or rituals, they always seem to have to get 11 in it. The post, the doorway, the gateway. It's crazy, isn't it? Now I can come up with a possible reason why they swapped it from December, and my good friend Ambiguous Fig just reminded me. Now I don't know how accurate this is, but it's a plausible reason for it. And it's this: the 13 days of preparation, the occult significance of April the 19th to May the 1st. Remember, the painting was supposedly done on the 20th of April. And yes, all these gods that is mentioned in this meme, they're all related and tagged to Janos, who's also related to the sun. So if this picture is about sundogs and sun halos, and it's a ritual to the sun, and they moved it from December to fit in with this, but obviously I don't know when this is, even if true, or if this actually started in that period of time. Who knows how long things have been going for, because the calendar is basically being changed again to Janos. But look at the date, April the 19th to May the 1st. Add them numbers. 1 add 9 is 10, add May the 1st is 11. So although it's 13 days, the actual dates of the numbers add to 11. Crazy that, isn't it? But I just thought, could it be the reason they changed it from December to April? On August the 23rd, 1973, an escaped convict holds a Swedish bank up for 6 days. The following term was then used, and that term was Stockholm Syndrome. I just find it so ironic we're talking about rituals and Stockholm, and that psychological phenomenon in which a hostage expresses empathy and has positive feelings towards their captor, sometimes to the point of defending them. Basically from Stockholm, and that's where that painting, and I'm talking about it, could it have been a ritual? I just find it so ironic. But also, look at the numbers, the date, it adds up to this. It's crazy. So let's add the dates. August is 8. Add the 2 and the 3 and the 1 and the 9 and the 7 and the 3, and you get 33. So the coin, Stockholm Syndrome, were people gain feelings towards their captors. It's basically what people are talking about the past few years, especially. And then, if your numeric value adds to 33, the synonymous number that everyone associates with the Masonic order, tell me that can't be a coincidence. That just blew me away when I just looked into that. See what you guys think. So obviously, as I'm looking at the Vadersolstavlan painting from 1535, this image came to mind because we've all seen it. People have bounded about for years on social media, and this is the Nuremberg celestial phenomenon from 1561. So in less than 30 years from Vadersolstavlan picture, this was out, this happened. Now, is it metaphorical? Is it someone dreaming? Is it visions? Was it real? Were they on drugs? Were they, there's so many reasons why it can be real and be fake, because we wasn't in that time period. So what I found interesting is that it happened not long after this, and there's so many other things that's happened in this time period. I'm just going to put them in this section because I just found them very, very cool and interesting to see what's going on in people's minds. You can say, could it be like a false flag? Because we can't trust his story, but it's still information. We can still use it for our benefit. Right, guys, this is one of the most famous, I think it's the Augsburg Book of Miracles, it's called. And I had to include it. Some of them are just, as you can see on the screen, the Book of Miracles, 16th century apocalyptic visions in pictures. Some say they represent some of the stuff that's in the Bible, Revelation. all that shenanigans. But also, could it have been stuff that happened in the sky? So this is why I'm including it, because I think it's pretty cool. And I'll read what's in it. It's not everyone in it, because there's hundreds. So I want to show you, I found just on this newspaper site, and I'm going to show you a few that these talk about and describe, and then I'll just show you loose ones that I've found. There's some cool images. So it's the book of 16th century apocalyptic visions in pictures, rediscovered a few years ago, an illustrated manuscript from 1550s. So again, not far from that time period. It's in between the Nuremberg and the Vadersolstavlan pictures. And this is from the 1550s. And it's showing awe-inspiring tales of the Old Testament, the Book of Revelation, and the contemporary events. Taschen's new edition as historical context. So they've put them together. I believe you can buy them now. And as you can see, they're all dated. Whether that's when they were done or when it happened, so obviously it represents some of the things from the Old Testament and Revelation. So in the year 1506, a comet appeared for several nights, and it turned its tail towards Spain. In this year, a lot of fruit grew and was then completely destroyed by caterpillars or rats. This was followed by an earthquake so great and violent that in Constantinople, many buildings were destroyed and people perished. So there you go. I'll just let you see these for a few minutes. If you want to type in, just type in Osberg Book of Miracles. You'll see them, but you'll see them loosely. And this is, there's not many sites. It'll go through a few. So this one is a sea monster and the beast with the lamb's horns. This is, it doesn't give a date on this one, but it might do, but give anyone that could read that at the bottom, even people who could understand it, that is crazy. Next one is what the main image was on the screen. This was 1009. In the year 1009, the sun went dark and the moon was seen as red, and a great earthquake struck. This was followed by the death of many people and famine throughout Germany and Italy. Just a crazy book, innit? You can imagine, that's what always gets me about when you look at things like this. Are they, as the description says, are they just visions? Are they actually what happened and it's portrayed as visions? Is it just faking his story for their benefit? Who knows? You know what I mean? That's just the intriguing thing, is putting these things together and just forming an opinion of yourself and what you think actually happened in this time period. This one is in 1552. A terrible storm with hail descended on Dordrecht in Holland. It lasted about half an hour. Several of the stones weighed up a few pounds. So you can see in the image, crazy size hailstone fell. This one is in the year 1531, so this is actually just 4 years before Vadersolstavlan. In the year 1531, a great whale was seen in the sky. This was followed by great earthquakes, so that about 200 houses collapsed and more than 1,000 people were killed. Crazy, isn't it, when you just look at it? And it looks like a flood as well. Even in the Stockholm painting, it looks like there's a flood. We always talk about great resets and different types of flood and biblical and biological types of reset. And I mean, in this period, it was not far off the start of the great vowel shift when you had the Black Plague and so on. This one's just known as golden balls. In 73 BC, are they representing the sun or another ball lightning, or who knows? But it's representing something that someone has seen. And that one's a good few thousand years ago, if you go off the calendar. God knows what time frame we're actually on. And this one is in year 1531. A bloody vision with a sword in its hand was seen near Strasbourg and on other parts as well, as a fiery citadel and an armed host on horseback. So we've always seen these different phenomena, haven't we? And in this reality, when you can fake anything using your computer, your laptop, your iPad, your phones, it's hard to believe what is true. That's why I always say to people, when you see an image, before you post it, and if it's so intriguing, reverse image search it, and if it comes back with hardly zero thingies, you got to ask it could be Photoshop. Sometimes they give you the actual image, and I find a lot out on that, but I don't post too many because people think you're a troublemaker because you're trying, it's not that you're a troublemaker, you just want things to be known for what they are. There's many intriguing and weird phenomena happening out there, so we shouldn't be faking it. And if you are faking it, just say it in your pictures. Don't pass it off as the real thing. In 1533, flying dragons were seen in Bohemia. They went on for several days, and with over 400 of them, both big and small, flying together. It's intriguing about this one, isn't it? Like I said, symbolic, actually happened, vision, crazy. But again, it's in that time period. Oh, dear me. And then we have the beast from the bottomless pit. And obviously this one's from the Bible. But it's an interesting and intriguing thing when you see how they used to paint in them days, isn't it? This one I've covered in a Rome video. In 1496, at the time of the Tiber burst its banks and wide near Rome, this creature appeared after it. It's just so crazy, isn't it? And that is in 1496. And there you go, guys. And what I'll do now is I will actually just show you some of just they're found like that. Obviously, there's not really many sites that'll go through each one. They'll just pick different ones. I just thought, I'll introduce this book to you, and then I'm just gonna fly them out there after this. Right, guys. Next one is this interesting one in 1542. Look at it. The sky is ablaze. This would be trippy to see, but could they be interpreting something else? Could it be just a localized sunset like this, or could it be what's known as like fire clouds because there's a fire somewhere nearby? Or could it be the phenomenon rainbow clouds, or fire rainbows as they're called? Could that be what they're representing in this image? Who knows, but it's still good to see. And the next one coming up is labelled 5 Suns over Leipzig. And as you can see, this one is in 1551. Now what we could be seeing is the Sundog or sun halo phenomenon here, or a lot of people believe in more than one sun. But could it just be what people believe this is? Each of the sides is a sun, and that's what they were seeing. Or could it be more than one sun? Now there's loads of photos banding around. Some of them are copied, some of them are optical illusions, camera errors, some are just made up like this one. But it just makes you think, I believe there's more than one sun. Now this is from creation in Egypt. It shows you the path of the sun from the underworld, etc. Now, but could it also be looked at, they're showing you there's more than one sun in the sky? It could be. It's just an opinion after all, and we all have them. So it's crazy when you throw it more things from the Augsburg book, because it's not just visions and stuff from the Bible, it's also showing what happened in that time period. And this is 1535. And these 3 appeared in the sky. I don't know where because it doesn't give a date. This one, it looks like a sun simulator type of sorts, 1520. And you have what looks like a meteor or something falling down at the back near the church. Just look at them, they're crazy. This is 1520. What are actually people seeing, or is it just hypothetical? Is it just, their opinion on what they saw in the sky? This was 1535 or 8, I think. Again, you can see the stuff that's happening in this time period known as the Great Vowel Shift in the sky. It just has to make you think of the phenomenon that we see in our skies, because more and more people now are looking up and taking images. Some more crazy stuff going on in this book of miracles. There seems to be more death, more, more destruction. This is 1362, the other one was 165. What's going on in this one in 1550? Is this the Holy Roman Empire attacking other civilization cultures? Who knows? This one is the deluge. When it hasn't got a date, I believe that's the biblical ones. This is obviously Moses parting the sea, but it looks like smoke. But hey, artist interpretation. This is in 1527. It looks like a plague of locusts. This is Jonah and the whale. So, you know, it covers a lot of this book. Like I said, I think there's hundreds of templates in it. 1456, it shows you when it rained blood and flesh from the sky. Crazy. Mount Vesuvius in 1482. It's not actually when it happened, that's just when they did the painting. And then we get on to other medieval, or what's that word? Renaissance painting, but they show UFOs and weird phenomena in the sky. What's going on? What are they showing? Is it just like now where they're trying to push an agenda? Who knows? But it's intriguing, isn't it? When you see things like this in the sky, what is going on? Are they trying to subliminal messaging? Is it metaphorical? Who knows? But this weird stuff is happening, and it's in ancient paintings. But you can see them. You don't have to go and look far to find something freaky in the clouds or in paintings. Just like this one with Sputnik in, with God there. It just looks identical to Sputnik, the satellite. So, you know what I mean? And I know in all that space stuff, please, people don't get triggered when I see certain words. And there you go. So it's just, to me, identical to Sputnik. Why is that in an old painting? And here you have 3 more paintings showing beams, what look like from UFOs, tails coming out of the sun. Like it looks like Independence Day on the far right, the clouds. It is just mind-blowing what's going on, especially in medieval stuff. You can see again, it looks like a UFO. But that gets you to thinking as well is, in ancient times, they believed in counter-Earth, another Earth. From Pythagoras to people earlier than him, they thought there was a counter-Earth. Now, this could be what people today call Niburu or Planet X, where there's a central fire, counter-Earth, and Greece. It's just mind-blowing when you think about all the stuff that people actually theorised about. I've just showed you one image of the counter-Earth, but have a look at the from above view, especially when Earth is at dawn and dusk at the bottom. Does it not scream an eye to you? So then the symbolism of eyes, obviously with secret societies and everything, it just blows me away. Wow, it represents an eye. But if I change the perspective again of the counter-Earth and, you know, the cosmology, and turn it up, it represents a crucifix. Wow. And obviously I've just used the red one in the picture, and the red one then obviously on what I'm showing you would represent the St. George's flag and everything that I've talked about that recently. My mind's just blown about the possibilities, and yes, I know it's just theorising, but I just love thinking out of the box and a bit different on what this could represent. So if you remember further back, it says, you remember it being called the Six Suns. Do you remember? And it's been bugging me since then. So I'm just looking at the painting. I'm like, no way. So can you see it? The actual painting, whether the Six Suns is actually the sun dogs. But if you look at how it represents and how the lines are, I can actually see 666 in the painting. And I'll show you now. So there's one. And I've done it like this so you can see the difference. There's 2. And there's 3. 666 in the painting. And obviously that represents man in my honest opinion. We also have CERN, which has the 666. CERN in us, aka Janos. But just look at it. The painting is known as the Six Suns. And that just got me thinking, where have I seen a similar pattern in regard to being the Sundog and the 666, and it's like everywhere in the community in a minute. And here we go. Yep, the World Economic Forum. You can quite see the 666, the Sundog, the halo, the pattern that is actually in the painting at the side. It's not exact, I know that, but you can see where I'm coming from. The Sundog through and the little so-called suns. So it's like 6 suns. And it has 666 in it. Is there any link? It just blew me away. And obviously they're smiling, the emphasis on the smile, the smirk at the bottom. So it got me thinking, could the 666 be... I know we're reference to humans, you know, the mark of the beast, 6666 carbons, etc. But what if it's got to do with brainwaves and affecting how we are? Because, as you can see, between 4 and 8, it's between the awake and sleep, deep meditation, the flow of ideas, creativity, and altered states. Think about it. If they can change that state in us and affects us, basically put us into a meditative state, then surely we're, as a bunch of race of beings, more easily controlled if we're in a meditative state. It just gets me thinking. Think about it. If we're the mark of the beast, 6 carbons, 6 electrons, etc., and there's a frequency like 666 hertz, and it's been proven, as you can see on the screen, to put you in a meditative state. Almost if they're using tech to actually do that in a reset our consciousness. It's just an idea, especially when they like to use the 666. And I know people referred it back to the beast, meaning Lucifer, and Lucifer the light bringer. You know, maybe it's like epileptic fits. You know, it's a frequency of light pulses that put people into a convulsive state. Whether, you know, whether this is just the same in basically when they're doing a reset, the trigger is man, basically 666, and the frequency affects, you know, and puts us into a meditative state. It's just an idea that I was thinking on. It came to me while I was making this. Right, so in this last section, I'm going to show you some weird things I've caught with a camera or a phone. Now, what you're seeing here is me taking a picture of the moon, but can you see the cube in the left corner? That always blows my mind when I look at this. You can call it an illusion, the camera flaw, whatever you want to call it. I believe I took a picture and it was a weird cube. You can see it on the screen. Also, I've took an image of the moon, and you can see it was weird. Whether, again, a camera error or a flaw or something else is behind it, who knows. But you can quite see it, and I put a filter on just so you can see a little bit of depth. Strange, isn't it? Now, the next one is me, just with a cheap camera, and people will say, well, there you go, that's why you're getting an error. But tell me, how can you zoom into the sun and catch, you know, a solar flare? I know they're called other things, but I'm just going to call it a solar flare, a burst. And you can quite see. How is that possible? If the sun is the distance they say, there's no way I can zoom in 72 million miles or whatever it is now, because they keep changing it. How is it possible I can zoom in and catch this phenomena? It should be impossible. You can see it. And it's no question what I've caught, you know what I mean? But people will claim other things. Now, this next one is very interesting indeed. What you've seen here, I took a picture of the sun one day and I put a filter on it, you know, to give it a bit of depth. It's like an aluminum or a tin foil type of thing. And what I didn't expect was to be binary in it. And that blew me away. Now, what happened is I put the binary into the computer, and it gave me this image, what you're seeing on the screen. It's crazy. It's a Y, but it's also like a spur, or, you know what I mean, or a star. But what I didn't know then is, just look at the binary. It's an 11. How crazy is that? And it produces a Y, like a Janos. Just always blows my mind, that. And then, obviously, from that, I was doing a video on Atlantis, and this is just a quick clip showing you, like, a possible location, and obviously a coincidental, the shape matches. Right, guys, I just want to show you this quickly, and then what's going to be funny is I'm going to show you an old clip of me actually showing it. For some reason, they've took the names out of this, and I'll show you why. Anyway, so I was doing a video on Atlantis the week I found that Y and the binary in the sun by that filter. Pure fluke, or an error, or was it meant to be? A lot of people talk about Atlantis being out in the Straits, past the Straits of Gibraltar into the Atlantic. Some people believe it's this way. Some people believe it's in Mauritania, you know, the Dragon's Eye, which is down here. But what's interesting to me is I do that video, do that picture, and I find this like the star or a Y, but I also find a Y underneath it. You can either go Y like that, or you can do, you know, I don't know what type of Y you would call that. But what's interesting is now, if you zoom in now, right in, nothing. These used to be labelled. I think this was Atlantis seabound or seaboard. This was Plato. It was just intriguing. Why have they stopped it? I've got most things connected like last time, but it's not on there. Anyway, I'm going to show you a few second clip of me actually showing you that it was named, just to corroborate what I found. I just found it's interesting that I take a picture of the sun. For some reason, it has weird binary. I type that into a search engine. It gives me that same shape star, but also it could be like a while. So, and I just find it interesting that I was doing a video on Atlantis that week. It's weird what we find, and that's why I encourage people just to look into the sky, take pictures, and just see what you can find. The why there, but just look at some of the names that it's called. Plato Seamount. At the top, Atlantis Seamount. So these ridges or mountains, what they would have been, one of them's called Plato, and the other one Atlantis. Right, what I'm going to finish here is because obviously I've talked about the Vadersolstavlan, about the Sundog sun halo picture. Now this is what I believe is what's called a sun simulator. The first image on the left is no filter, it's a straight picture. The other two is a filter, just so you can see other, levels of what's going on in the picture, and you can quite see it. It is the hexagonal, the diamond shape sun simulator. I don't know how people can't see this yet. It's beyond me, but obviously we all see differently. Some people will say it's a camera error, but hey, when did you know the sun was blue or a white haze? I've always known it as yellow. And if you're going to take a picture of the sun when that's out, you'll see it's circular, it's flat, it faces you. And when you take a picture of the sun simulator, it's always on an angle, and it's always a diamond or hexagonal shape. That is the biggest giveaway. You can even go in social media. They talk about how in press clippings, how it's been out in Germany, Japan, other places. Why are people just not accepting that they're putting a simulator sun up there? For whatever nefarious reason, I believe that's what it is. Obviously, it's just an opinion, and you can quite see it in the pictures.
Yeah, they call me the black sheep. You know they call me the black sheep.
Hello and welcome. Right guys, I've had to film this again. It seems lately, whatever I do, it's raining. What happens when it rains? The local authority send people out to cut the grass. In the rain. Revving the engines. I don't know, but you have to laugh, So so welcome. Hello and welcome. I'll just have to laugh because I've just been like recording, deleting. We'll let people hear that on the screen, so I'll just scratch it and wait till they're gone. So I've had to wait a good while later. So guys, hello, welcome to anyone that's new for the first time. I've had a few subscribers lately. This is a section I just call the thoughts, where I go over what I've briefly talked about in the video, plus give anything else that just comes to my mind as I'm doing it. So it's funny how this video came about, because I was just looking for, when you just various images, and came across, the Vadersolstavlan, but it wasn't the full picture. It was just like of the town, the city, and the areas that I was talking as the train tracks. I'm like, they look like train tracks. I know about mooring and different things, but it just didn't seem to fit, because there were ships near housing, the cottages, whatever, the walls, and it looked like there was loads of flooding, so there was that. And I'm thinking, well, why is it not tied up to there? It just doesn't. And if you do moor it, you expect be able to get off the ship and walk across. Well, on that type of thing, it's like a train track. You told they're going to shimmy across the little things, which they must have had to do. Then I find a picture further on when I'm clicking through. It says train oil. I'm like, no way, I struck gold. Yes. 1535 painting with train tracks, and trains weren't invented for hundreds of more years. I'm onto something, as we do in the community. You get excited. Then the back of my head hits, and it says, Paul, remember, train oil means whale oil. So I'm assuming these things were for the whales, you know, to get them off the ships and you leave them there. I just don't know. But obviously it's not an ancient monorail or train track. But it's still an interesting image full of like a weird anomalies. It does look like it was flooding. But like I said, that could be the painter's interpretation. It could have just been naff, as we say. So 1535, I'm like, well, that's interesting. And then I click, bang. Now I couldn't see the wood for the trees, or the trees for the wood, or whatever the saying goes. I couldn't see the trees for the wood, or the wood for the trees. See what I mean? It gets me. I'm like, Sundog. Wow. Now, what I think of is, wow, that's an interesting Sundog Sun Halo picture. Now, is this painting fake? Well, in 1535, Urban the Painter comes to 11 in Gematria, the ritual number that they love to use for like a false flag or to control the narrative of history. Remember, this is in the great vowel to L shift, or the Babel effect. So if you want to realise what I'm talking about more in depth, check out my video. It's called the Babel effect, and it has a thing at the side saying the great vowel to L shift, and it's a period in the history when everything changed. It's like they changed the language, they changed how we wrote, all the sciences that they still use today was brought in, all the fake model shit was all brought in this period of time. And that's what excites me about this time period. And it's just an intriguing piece of history, and people love the video. So if you're new to the channel, please check it out. It's called the Babel effect. You'll see it in my popular uploads, because on my channel I have different sections, and it's one of the most popular videos, about third or fourth on the list. Check it out, you'll know what I'm on about. It contains obviously the vowels A, E, I, O, U, and even in that time, 1530s, if I remember roughly, we had the Holy Roman Empire use the vowels as a device. It was on his monogram, he called it a device. If you look up, it's in the video, if you look up the meaning of device, it's like a piece of equipment, it's a tool. What is it? Are they using a frequency weapon against us? Now, I talk about that as, you know, in regard to resets and different things. So if we're looking at a painting in 1535 that was done by Urban the Painter, and for whatever reason it disappeared from history, and then 101 years later in 1636, why choose 101 years later and have the 11? Is it a complete fluke? Am I over exaggerating? All the things are possible. But what if, that slim little what if, my theory on the 11 and using it as a ritual number and in their practices is real? Because there's a lot of evidence for what I say in that regard. I mean, just look, you look at the name Vadersolstavlan. It means a Sundog painting. Yet why are some people calling it the winter solstice? Why is the translator getting it so wrong, calling it the weather solar panel? I can't speak Swedish, so I can't equate for why it's doing that. But it's interesting, isn't it? It's intriguing, especially when you look at the content of what else is going in the video. You're like, wow. And that's why I added the rest of that stuff, showing you the weird stuff that's happened in that time and what I've caught. That's only a brief stuff that I've caught. So if it's not, the painting was done on, I think if I remember, the 20th of April or the 21st of April. Why is it called the Sundog? You can see Sundog, sun halos, I get that. But the translation winter solstice, well, the winter solstice isn't till December. And you think, nah, that's just got to be an error, and it could well be. But when you see an eclipse in the painting, you're like, well, I can see an eclipse. There's not an eclipse on that date, the painting, but there is one. I think it was 2 or 3 times that year, and one of them was in December, which is not far off the solstice. So on the solstice would have been 20th, 21st, or it might have been a bit earlier in them days, but it was still in December. And a couple of weeks later, there was an eclipse, a full eclipse, near enough, and that painting shows near enough a full eclipse. So that gets you thinking, you might be onto something. considering it might have come from an error of translation by whoever did that, because it is possible to match the dates of that painting not being in April but in December. So they moved it from December. Remember, December is always a vowel. It's always a vow, New Year's resolution. So the ritual started in December in the solar eclipse, the sun, and they moved it to April. And I was talking to Ambiguous Fig. We got that right way. It doesn't matter. You know what my brain's like. So there was that 13 days of preparation, the satanic rituals, where they like to do the rituals of sacrifices from the 19th of April to the 1st of May. Those numbers add to 11. Again, just a coincidence. So if it was part of this ritual, moving it from the vow to April as a ritual, was there some type of sacrifice going on in this time period? I mean, just look at it. You have the Black Death going around just before that or just after, various times. You had the dancing plague happening in various cities. So much was going on. You had, what was it called now? In the 13th century, you had the Children's Crusade. I think that was 1250 or 12, or something in there, 1290. I've done a video on that. I don't know if I've put it up, but it was on my old channel. So it's just intriguing that there's a lot of death going on in this time period, which it could be a lie. It could just be part of his story. Gateway, and I've said in previous videos. So it's just intriguing. Why mislabel it the winter solstice for it not to be in December but April? And there's an eclipse. Did they miss that eclipse out that year? Possibly. For whatever reason, they could have possibly, because there may be a war. There was a fracas going on between the king and the Catholic Church at the time. So that could be a reason why they didn't put it down. But they've wrote down the solar eclipses from the other time. So why? So that just gets me thinking, why change it? And it could have been that ritual type of event with the 666 in the painting, because we don't know the original. I don't know if that is 100% based off of what actually happened. There's no way of corroborating it. There's just this second painting turning up 101 years later, saying it's a full copy of Urban the Painter's first one. How do we know? And that's all what a lot of it boils down to. We just do not know. And that's the intriguing thing. They've redone it again as like an event, a narrative to control history. It's happened in that period I've called the Great Vowel to L shift, the Babel effect. And this is supposed to be one of the first times of a Sundog or sun halo type of event being caught in a painting. And the painting in colour. So of the first so-called coloured photo, or not photo, painting of representation of Stockholm. So then you think about it, and we're talking about rituals and different things, and when you get kidnapped, you start to have feelings, and you're more easily controlled by the kidnapper because you're having feelings from. You can see the standpoint, and people are saying that's what's happening in this modern day. People getting jabbed, people wearing masks. It's like you're having the feelings and you understand and you go along with people because you're like, why would they lie? They've got our best interests. Well, it's like we're being held captive. So we start getting Stockholm Syndrome. It's weird, that, isn't it? That syndrome is named after the place of this Vadersolstavlan. That intrigued me. So that's why I had to do a little bit more. Then you look into the first time Stockholm Syndrome was used, that I can find, was used. And that was the 23rd of August 1973. And when you add that, you get 33. Again, I can't claim to be. Is it coincidence? Is it just me wanting it so bad? Or is it that slim little chance that, yep, we're going to use this Stockholm Syndrome as a ritual and make it significant and tie the 33 to it, which they love to do. And that's the intriguing thing about when you do research and you look into things. It's just significant that come on, Stockholm Syndrome, the date of it, when an escaped prisoner held up a bank for 6 days. 6 again. And it's of Stockholm. This is the painting, it has a 6 in it. And yes, I know it's obviously the atoms and carbon, but it's just intriguing. And that's why I just asked that question, that because the painting was known as the 6 suns. Are they talking about the Sundogs or whatever you want to call them? There is different names for each part of the Sundog, because they love to make names up. And could it just be because there were 6 of them? But it's intriguing that you can get 666 in the painting. And that's what got me thinking. If there is a sound, because this realm is frequency, vibration and energy. That's what everything is. That's why I research Janos a lot. I know it pees some people off, but I just find it really interesting because he controls the keys, the frequency keys. So if you're doing a vowel shift and it's in this time period, and it's like a huge mega ritual, which we've not long done in the last 2 years, face mask, all that, all tied to Janos, all in my videos. I got made a mocking stock through the community, and it was only for you brilliant people who had me back, who could see what I was talking about. But all these big channels, all these so-called people are open-minded. Yep, you know them people. We're very open-minded, us, but go against our narrative and you're crazy, you're a shill. I've been screaming out this for years. Now more and more people are just seeing, come around to my perspective, because it matches what they were researching. Just interesting. Especially when you're tying that 666 in. That blew me away, because the World Economic Forum has 666 in it. The Great Reset. Are we talking about a frequency, a weapon, a device that they use to basically wipe our consciousness? Is it to actually do physical damage in creating floods, fires, obviously, I believe consciousness shifting as well, but also, what's that word now? Not like mud flood, but it's just gone off in my head. You know what I mean? When liquefaction and different things like that. Could it be a frequency in that? And then I just look into it, and there is a 666 hertz, and it's tied to theatre. Is it theatre? So I didn't write it down, and I can't look again. But you know what I mean. You saw the video, and it's 666, and it's talking about how that helps you to get in a meditative state. Well, meditative state, you're relaxed. You're on another. You're in between realms. So if they can turn on a device that puts you in a meditative state, surely, for me thinking, well, if you're in a meditative state, like a hypnotic state, are you easily programmable? Right, guys, these people are getting enlightened. Turn on the 666 device. Bang. Change the narrative. Just gets you to thinking, yeah, and I got all that just from starting looking at Vadersolstavlan. Then thinking, well, if it's why is 666 in the halos, and that's why I just love it. It doesn't mean I'm right. It just means, when I look at things, I just like looking at something and firing away. And this is the only chance I get to fire away. Doesn't mean it's fact. Doesn't mean I actually believe in it. But when I look at things, I've not got I've got a platform where I can just fire ideas out and see how they stick. And that's just what I love about it. Because in the 19th century, I think it was, we had the Carrington effect with the solar phenomenon. It's supposedly like an EMP, knocks out all the electrical circuit. It changed where you could see the northern lights as far south as Cuba and on. You know what I mean? So if these events happen, we don't know if it's a natural phenomenon or a reset phenomena. But it just has to make you think, doesn't it? Because you have CERN, again, have 666 in the logo. CERN, is another name for Janos. Opening portals, doorways. But Another program they do is called Cloud. Yep, they have a program called Cloud. And it's called a cosmic leaving outdoor droplet. And it's about aerosol particles and interaction with clouds and ions. And they do so-called experiments creating artificial clouds in a big container. And it's to do with cosmic rays. What is it, cosmic rays? Is it tied to the ether? Is it the free power? Is it something out there that we still don't know of? And if they're trying to control them, is that a part of what they do with this device that the Holy Roman Empire uses? Remember, they brought in the two-headed eagle in that year, which still blows my mind. So it's just interesting, isn't it? Like I said, don't mean them fact. Then you have to look at the Osberg Book of Miracles. Some of them are visions and things from the Bible, Old Testament, New Testament, Revelation, and then some of them are actually from happenings that happened in various time periods. You just look out the crazy stuff that's happening in the sky, and we always have to try and take a step back sometimes, because we do get easily excited. I know I do, and that's why I always try and just be objective. Say it could be that, it could be this, it could be that, and I don't know for a fact. But just look at the weird phenomena. It's gone through all them ages, and then we're talking about a place called Vadersolstavlan. It had the weird Sundog halos and an eclipse, which is very rare to get an eclipse and the Sundogs. I just find it so fascinating, and some of them pictures in the Book of Miracles are crazy. I'm just using it for this video to put together, and I just wanted to show, yep, there is stuff going on in this time period later and before, weird shit going on in the sky. We just don't know enough. It's like the oceans. They say, they don't know hardly anything that goes on in the sea. And we've always looked into the heavens. We've always seen stuff in pictographs and cave drawings. What is going on? Because I've seen weird shit. Sometimes your eye can get mistaken. Sometimes you're actually seeing the shit, and 99% of the pictures that we see are fake, but the 1% isn't. And we're always going to get that dilemma: is it fake? Is it CGI? Is it true? Is it a false flag type of event? We just don't know, because they've been controlling the narrative for so long. We're all on catch up. We're all trying to expose it, because we all see different things at different times. And maybe if the vast majority of the public see what's going on, they reset the consciousness. And that's why a lot of it's talked about, a lot of history is muddled up when we've got so many different gods being the same god, and how when you want to stick to a lie, you've got to keep it as close to the truth as you can, so it's easily controlled. It's just crazy, isn't it? I mean, I put in a bit of the counter Earth because of the phenomenon in the sky. There's a lot of people out there who believe in Niburu or Planet X. Could this be what the phenomenon that some of these Osberg pictures, or the event happening at Stockholm? It's a narrative, isn't it? And if I say it's a planet, you get people who look into a certain community. There's no such thing as planets. There's no such thing as space. See, you can't win. You can't look into things because you're restricting yourself straight away. So if you're restricting, you're holding yourself back just because it's a word, it's a term. You're not gonna grasp anything. You're never gonna paint a better picture. And I don't get triggered. Do I believe in certain things? No, but for the purpose of a video, if this isn't this, what are they seeing? And in ancient times, whatever the time period, because we don't know if it's 100 years, we don't know if it's 500 years or 1,000 years or 2,000 years. They've changed the calendar so rapidly. We used to have 13 months, we've had 12 months, we've had 8-day weeks. The months have been changed back and forwards, and so to say we know shit, and that's the beauty of it. To try and get back to some form of reality that you think you're ahead on. Just when you think you have it, you get knocked down. So when I talked about the counter Earth, it's just gave me a brainstorm, and I might do something on that in regards to another theory videos that I've made, because we're talking about counter Earth and counter Earth. That's what Pythagoras called it, counter Earth. It's the 11, and we don't know if it's energy, a frequency, a physical object in celestial heavens, because we don't know if we're in this. Some people believe we're in a simulation. Some people think we're on a flat plane. Some people think we're on convex. There's so many things that people believe in, and they fight over, instead of just saying, "Well, yeah, you believe that, I believe this." Let's see if we can come to some agreement on something. And the majority of people who do that know they've lied. Them, about the globe. So it's just funny that when I looked at the cosmological model of it from an aerial point of view, it looked like an eye. And they always like to hide things in plain sight, so it could be linked to something in regards to the eye, saying it's this model. Like I said, it was just a thought. And then I changed the view again, and it was the St. George's flag, the crucifix, and it's like, wow. You know what I mean? Especially when I've been doing stuff lately on the St. George. That just blew me away. And like I said, it's just things to ponder on. And that's all we have to do in it, is reality, because there's so much weird shit going on now. It's crazy. It's like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, some of the things that you've talked about, you wouldn't say. Now it's a common thing. It's like you've seen your friend in a street online. Oh, all right. And it's like saying that now. Well, I saw this. Did you? Oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? It's just, it's accepted now. I mean, there's some of the things I've been talking about 4 or 5 years ago, again, got mocked and out the communities have labelled a joke about having Morse. The Earth was designed like a flower, flower of life. I've done videos on it. A lot of people have seen it 3-4 years ago. And we have more suns, because I believe the sun and the moon are used as a control device for the circadian rhythm. It controls the hormonal balance. It releases chemicals telling you when to get up and when to go to bed. And it's why they call the time zones. The zones. And each zone has a sun or a moon or both. You know what I mean? I'm not hell-bent on the specific number. It's just an idea that I've put into picture form and made videos on. I don't know if I've got one on the new channel, but it's on the Black Sheep Researcher on the Odyssey. You can find them on there. I've posted them. People have seen it many a times. Again, laughed at, and now people are talking about it in the community. Go figure. Doesn't mean I've said it first. Someone could have said it 25 years in front of me. It's just, it's just one of those things. But I just enjoy this back and forth, especially when you get to talk to people. It's just brilliant. So then at the end, I wanted to show you some of the weird things that I saw, like the square cube. That was crazy. Again, I'll hold my hand up. It could just be a glitch. Phones don't seem to be able to set pictures of the sun and the moon anymore very easily. Then you had my camera zooming in on something that's 70 to 80 million miles away. Tell you what, that's a good bloody camera, and that. Zooming all that way to see, and there is a proper term for it, but I'll just say for most people, a solar flare. How can I catch a solar flare with a camera? That tells you whatever it is. It ain't at that distance. People believe it's plasma. People think it's a crater Earth type of thing. You know what I mean? But still, I caught it on film, and it's a wow moment for me. And then obviously that weird day where I took a picture of the sun, put a filter over it to give it a bit of depth to see if if it produces anything, and it had an error. It had binary 1 and 8 or 9 zeros and 1. At that time, I wasn't looking at the 11 because it was 3-4 years ago. Now, seeing it for this video, I'm like, damn! You know what I mean? Especially how it produces a Y. I just typed it into the Google, and it threw me to that site that I showed you on screen. And that's how you think of it. How can that possibly be that I find that from an error? Because I took a picture the day after and it wasn't there. And it had a Y. And it was 11. Obviously, I didn't know that at the time. And that week I was doing a video on Atlantis on my old channel. Because obviously I showed you where, you know, it could be. And there's a Y on an actual 3-pointed star, which does look like a Y as well if you think about it. These crazy so-called coincidences just make me want to research harder and enjoy it more. And sometimes we've let the fun out of research go because we all have an ego. I've got an ego, you've got an ego. If people say they haven't, they're a liar. And that's not to take anyone offended. It's just reality. Humans have these emotions. And some people just handle it better. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy world that we live in. And we're seeing more and more crazy shit because people are breaking out the shells at a fast pace. And that's why these false flag and these rituals are getting bigger and bigger. Because they want to divide us. And is this Solstavlan event happened? Was that a false flag event at the time? Getting that 666 in that, and that frequency, was it theta? Theta waves go from like 5 to 8 and like 6.66. It brings a meditative state to you. And the very distinction in between sleep and awake. Always reminds me, is it June? The Sleepers Awake. I always get that from that. That'd be a good name for a channel for anyone. The Sleepers Awake. Remember, if anyone's seeing that now, you know where they got it from, people. So, there you go, guys. I just want to show you something different. Briefly start off about the painting. A few anomalies that I found, possibly could find. Then show you the book of miracles and all the weird shit that's had in it. To the counter a little bit to the World Economic Forum, and you know, are these events all part of a big agenda? And we all can see that, and they always like to use numbers to hide these events, and that's what people do in these events that's happening all the time. People are able to spot them so quick now, and it's out, and it is changing people. But we have to do it. They have to learn at their own pace. Some people will take it on board straight away, but some people just need, you know, constant, you know, you showing you this. So this is just my little short video that turned into an hour of the Sundog hashtag winter solstice, the solar panel painting. You know what I mean? It's just intriguing that you can get so many things from that. And then the bit about the frequencies blew my mind because we know who they worship. I showed you enough of that. And if it's a frequency based, and if that is happening, are they releasing a frequency that's putting us in a meditative state? It controls the masses, the harp, pardon me. As well, this cloud thing going on. There's nanotechnology, smart dust. There's everything out there, 5G, all these type of events. It's happening on a constant merry-go-round basis, and we all have to stick together through our ups and downs and try and bring a bit of humour back to research into it and just trying to have a laugh. Don't let the bar stools grind us down. So hopefully you've enjoyed that little bit of different. Sorry it took a couple of weeks, but you know what I mean, I don't have much free time. Any free time I'm making a video. And then what happened to me a lot this last year is, it seems to me when I'm doing a video, outside influences are, you know, making it hard to film. But just smile and keep going, guys, because I know you guys appreciate the effort I'm putting in. I appreciate the support you showed me. It's humbling because, you know, I'm just part of the gang, and we all do our little bit. So this picture, the Vadersolstavlan, was definitely a different video, but they like to use art as a way of controlling the masses and putting their agenda. I've showed you that in the sculpture video, and now with this painting. Could it be false? Could, yes it be, because they've admitted it's a copy, and then take everything else on board. It's just interesting. And then all the stuff that I've found, and that's just a patch. I've seen planes freeze in the sky. My daughters and my mum were actually with me at the time and they saw it. You know what I mean? So we saw these things. And we've all seen more, and you people in the chat will tell me what you things that you saw. People are always quick to tell you you're a liar, and you've seen things and it's a camera glitch. Maybe 80-90% of the time, but there's always that little few percent that are actually seeing what they're saying. And then you go, wow. So guys, stay safe, always wear a smile, pay it forward, try and do one good deed for someone out there who need it. And please, show me the love, give it a like, give it a share, tell people to come to the channel. I really do appreciate it. Bye guys.